Good morning, this is Anthony Gollan from ODL Asia. Today's video will be our second interview with Paul Akers, and that's Paul Akers of 2 Second Lean fame and various other books, and most recently the Lean Play app. And you can get that on the Google App Store and on Apple. So let me know if you can't locate the app on your App Store, and I hope that you find it valuable. It has all of Paul's audiobooks on there and some other resources. He loves to get the feedback on those audiobooks and the other resources that are going to help you be successful. So today's interview, much like the first interview, is a response and a discussion to a series of questions posed by our frontline staff in Suzhou. Those questions represent where we are on our lean journey. And as with most businesses, we have people that have been with us for a while and have lived throughout the instilling our lean culture and that whole journey. And we've got other staff that have newly joined us, and they're right at the beginning of their lean journey. So the questions are from a cross-section of our workforce. Based on some feedback, we've tried to shorten the video down, be a little bit more concise, but ensure that it is free-flowing and we get to get the spirit and the intent and the theme of what Paul's experience and wisdom can bring us. So enjoy the next 15 or 20 minutes of video and questions, and hopefully you find it useful. Leave some comments in the comment section below, like and subscribe to our ODL Asia YouTube channel if you like. Welcome to our second interview with Paul Akers, with some questions from our frontline staff in Suzhou. And I'd like to welcome Paul to the interview today. It's evening your time and morning my time, Paul. How are you doing today?
Pleasure, Anthony. I'm doing really well. I'm looking forward to it. I thought the questions last time were great, so let's do another round.
Yeah, excellent, excellent.
保罗先生，你好，我想问一下，每天给我们1个小时时间做精益，是不是天赋的浪费？因为我们每天1个小时，我们做产品的话，我们都能够做出产量，但是让我们做精益，我们有时候1个星期才做1个，有时候1个星期1个也找不到。如果让我们做产品，是不是更能体现员工的价值？
So Paul, diving straight into the questions, our frontline staff see their strength as making stuff, making product. How can we help them see they are equally as valuable in making lean improvements as they are in making our products?
Well, the simple answer, Anthony, is lean helps you make things more successfully with less friction. So if you were going to drive down the road and you put your foot on the brake and your foot on the accelerator, yeah, you'd go down the road, but it would be difficult. So when you apply lean, when you improve your processes, it's essentially like letting the brake off, so you have 100% of your energy going down the road, or in your case, making product. So by slowing down and fixing processes, it allows you to more effectively do the very thing you're entrusted to do, and that is make product.
Okay.
您好，我是BBG 工区的员工。针对精益生产，我的问题是：做精益生产有副作用吗？如果有，该怎样避免？感谢您的回复，谢谢。
Our next one is, sometimes it feels like an improvement in one area that has a negative impact to the process in another area. So kind of a pessimist view of lean. I can't do something, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. What experience and advice have you got to offer to help us navigate through this?
Well, that's the laws of thermodynamics. That's just the reality. Everything that you do has another reaction to it. So the way a lean thinker addresses that issue is the first thing they do is they bring up the concept of respect. So they don't think of themselves as doing things in a vacuum. They think of themselves as doing things in a community and collaboration. So they're going to say to themselves, okay, well, I'm going to improve the way I make window shades and how I cut the rope for the window shades, let's say. But they're going to also say, who else does that affect upstream and downstream? And they're going to get those people and bring them together and say, hey, Bob, Mary, Sue, whoever it is, and say, I'm going to do this. Is there any reason you think this wouldn't work for you? And will it encumber you or will it help you? And if I did do it, how could I do it more effectively so it would help you? So a lean thinker doesn't just do things. They are considering their fellow team members, both upstream and downstream. And all that comes from one concept, respect. So a lean thinker is not a selfish person. A lean thinker is a giving person and respectful person of the people they work with. And if they approach life, they have to have that approach, then they're not going to have the problems that perhaps this question is suggesting, because they're going to do the necessary things to make sure they've got buy-in from people before and after the process.
So lean is an accumulation of small incremental improvements identified and executed by everybody in the organization, but it's also a collaboration of those individuals in the organization around harnessing respect for each other and making each other's lives better.
It is emphatically the concept of collaboration and cooperation. Very important. You are cooperating. I had a vision today when I was driving down the road. Imagine you're in a large rowboat, okay? And let's say this rowboat can take 30 people. It's a big boat, right? And everyone's got oars, right? And everyone's just dipping their oar in a little bit and pulling. And the boat's moving quite briskly. And no one's working really hard, but they're all cooperating together. Conversely, you take that same boat with 30 people and 4 people are putting their oars in, 2 people are kind of resting their oars in the water and kind of dragging their oars. Two or three other people have their oars up. 2 or 3 people are distracting the other people who are working hard to oar. The boat's not going to move very well. It's going to move and you're going to get product out the door, but it's nowhere near representative of what a collaborative and cooperative environment looks like. So lean says, hey, we're all in the same boat together. Let's work together. Let's synchronize our efforts so that everyone wins. So we get to the finish line, not exhausted, but as we say, we go home, we're driving our scooters, we're driving our cars, and we're tapping our fingers on the steering wheel and we're saying, I work at a great place. I work with cool people. I work with people that care about me. I work with people that make my job easier every day. I work with people that educate me. This is the environment of lean thinkers.
That's so cool. And your rowboat metaphor is very apt for China, given the dragon boat culture.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That must have been a God-ordained vision, because that's the vision I had today.
Well, that is good fodder for us to think about our next critical number theme, dragon boating. Middle of the year, I think that comes up, maybe second quarter of next year.
您好，我是 BBG 工序的员工，针对精益生产，我的问题是在精益过程中，与同事观点不一致，该如何处理？感谢你的回复，谢谢。
So Paul, How have you and your leaders navigated through disagreements on the shop floor regarding the quality or solution of an improvement? We have a contest of ideas between operators and supervisors, operators and other operators, and we're encouraging people to make decisions that are unrelated to their rank and hierarchy in the organization. What advice would you have?
Well, you know, that is actually the easiest question I get pitched quite often, one of the most typical questions I get. So the way to navigate it is quite simple. There are 4 criteria for an improvement. And if everybody understands that we're going to measure the improvement concept based on these 4 ideas, then it's not whether or not Anthony thinks it's a good way to do it or whether or not Paul thinks it's a good way to do it. It's whether or not it meets the criteria of whether or not it's a good way to do it. So I will explain. The first one is safety, and it is the highest one. It's number 1. And then after that is quality, and then after that is simplicity, and then after that is speed. So let's say you have an improvement you want to make. I'm just looking around here real quick at my office. I think this is video driven, right? So they're going to see stuff, right?
Of course, yes.
Good. All right. So let me unplug my computer for a second. Hopefully it doesn't go dead. And I'll roll over to my drawer here and I'll give you a good example. Okay. So this is my office drawer. Okay. So let's take a look at that. Can you see it okay, Anthony?
I can see it, yes. Nice hand drill.
Okay. So now this improvement, let's take a look at this. So before everything was just thrown in this drawer. So let's go from a safety standpoint. Is this safer than everything just being thrown in here? Is it safer? Oh, sorry. Is it safer? Can you still see okay, Anthony?
I got you, yep.
Okay, you sure everything's good? So is it safer just to throw this knife in the drawer just like this? Or is it safer to have it tucked in a piece of Kaizen foam exactly where it needs to be?
Absolutely safer to be tucked away in its place.
Okay, good. Okay, so it meets that criteria. If the objective is to access your tools fast and easy without struggle, and you have to do a job, is it likely you're going to do a higher quality job if you're accessing your tools like from this drawer, or if everything's just thrown in there?
Most definitely higher quality from this well-organized drawer.
Okay, so it meets the first 2, okay? And then the next one is simplicity. Is it simpler to access the tools from this drawer?
Oh, without a doubt.
It is. And then the last one, is it faster? And that's the least important. And absolutely it's faster. And it's easier to put it away. And it's easier to make sure you haven't lost anything. Let's suppose though, real quick. So let's say the scissors and the knife are not in there. And there is no safety issue. So the first question we have, is it safer this way or is it safer the old way? It's neutral. There's not really a big difference. There isn't anything that's going to hurt you. So safety is not an issue. But then quality, it improves the quality of your job and it's simpler still. So it meets 3 of the criteria. The 1 criteria is neutral. But let's say, for instance, I got a good one for you. Okay, here you go. I'm going to do something. Let's say I put it in Kaizen foam and I put the knife blade up like this. Okay, the knife blade is open. Can you see that, Anthony?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, so now I want to make this improvement and I'm insisting that knife blade be up like that. And quality-wise, it's better. It's simpler, it's better. It's faster, it's better. But the safety, it's not safer this way. So we're not going to make that improvement. Do you see what I'm saying? It isn't a matter of what I want and what you want. We have to obey these simple principles. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. So like a hierarchy of controls, a pyramid of decision making, and it doesn't matter what your rank or hierarchy is, you just get on with executing what is the best one that addresses safety, quality, in those.
Simplicity,
yep.
Speed. Right, exactly. I never heard it said that way. There's a hierarchy of a litmus test. And if everyone just approaches it that way, then all of a sudden the big debate, whether or not it's my idea, your idea, or somebody else's idea, it's immaterial. We just obey those principles, and all of a sudden, all the fighting, all the strife, all the problems, they just go away. But the important thing here, Anthony, is that we have trained our people to think this way. It isn't like there's just this principle and that's just the way we do it. We rehearse and go over these principles on a daily basis. So it's deeply ingrained. So the minute a conflict potentially comes up, the minute a debate comes up, everybody just reaches into their bag of tricks and says, safety, quality, simplicity, speed.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice.
嗨，保罗，有什么方法可以让员工在工作中更好地执行精益思想？目前精益的想法是通过视频的呈现，部分员工仅仅是追求视频的数量，而忽略了精益的本身。是否有辅助方法可以让部分员工回到精益的本质？
Okay, so other than videos, what other methods of broadcasting incremental improvements have you had success with?
Well, I would say the number one way we have success is the leaders of the company, people like me, people like Lucas, people like my son. When people are making improvements, they're giving them high fives all the time. And everybody's celebrating the littlest improvement. So that's not a video. That's just the leadership recognizing the importance of these small improvements. So that's one way. The second way is in our morning meeting, we ask 6 people to talk about their improvements that they've made in the 3S period before we have our morning meeting. And we go around and we say, Johnny, what was your improvement today? He goes, well, I fixed the broom. It was broken and I hung it up and labeled the area where it goes. And I put a marker pen on the forklift. So now whenever I go to cross off an item, when I'm picking an item, I don't have to reach in my pocket to get the marker. It's in Kaizen foam right in front of me, right next to the order. I just pull it off, boom, mark it, put it right back. I'm not fumbling around looking for it. So everybody talks about their improvements every day. So number one, the leadership celebrates every improvement that's made on the shop floor. Number two, we talk about those improvements on a daily basis in our morning meeting. And number three, we share those with video on our WhatsApp chat with our entire team. The entire company's on a WhatsApp chat, and we're always sharing all the videos improvements that are being made.
Great. Yeah, we share all of our videos on our WeChat group. So WeChat works quite well in China, and we've got every employee on WeChat, and we've got videos spooling through. But I think it's really important to emphasize that public recognition and leadership recognizing the people that are really putting the effort in.
Zero incentive program. No incentive. Nobody gets paid for any improvements. That's your job. We didn't hire you to make woodworking tools and equipment. We hired you to improve the way we make woodworking tools and equipment. So nobody gets any compensation for making an improvement. But the laws of nature suggest that if somebody is constantly improving things, that they are of a greater benefit to the organization and the company. And the laws of nature suggest they're naturally going to be moved up both in responsibility and compensation. And that's exactly what happens at our company.
Indeed, indeed.
保罗先生您好，关于经营改善，我想问一下，经营改善的动力在哪里？对于我们员工来说，增工资是最大的动能，但是我们目前发现这个经营改善并没有对我们福利带来多大的影响。我想问一下，经营改善的动力在哪里？
So how have you recharged the enthusiasm for making incremental improvements when you felt like perhaps the motivation was waning within the organization?
Well, the number one person responsible for that is the leader, the president of the company. Who's ever at the top, they're the chief enthusiasm officer. They're the ones that have to set the tone of the company. So ultimately that falls on my shoulders. But my second part, the answer to that is we really don't. because lean is so much about who we are that there is no recharging. There is no special, oh, we're going to focus on lean now. It is all we do. It's all we think about 24/7. It's relentless, zero start to finish. It's all we think about. So we don't really have any new initiatives, lean initiatives. It's so thoroughly ingrained in what we think and do every day. There is none of that. But ultimately, it's my job. If the enthusiasm's not there, it's because I'm not enthusiastic, and they're taking the cues from me.
Yeah, leadership's really important. I was going to say on our previous question was, we employ people to be process engineers, and everybody's a process engineer in the organization, and your responsibility is to make those improvements on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's exactly right. You're a process engineer. That's your job. And that means everything you do is a process, from washing your dishes to emptying the dishwasher to cleaning the toilet to answering email to gathering information for people to your ability to communicate effectively to your teammate in a succinct way and an effective way with great efficacy. And those are all processes. And we are relentless on those. For instance, I'll give you a good example. So we just bought a new injection molding machine. And so when the machine came in, we had a few problems. One of the problems was that the shipping company damaged one of the collector systems on it. And so we had to ship the thing back to the company. They had to rework it, rebuild it, do everything else. So I did a Hansei with the engineering department. Hansei simply means a reflection with regret. I wasn't beating him up. I said, so Tyler, what could you have done differently? And he said, well, I think where my mistake was, I let somebody else receive the goods. And what I should have done is when that equipment came in, the receiving department should have come and got me and said, hey, you got a piece of equipment here. I'm not going to sign off this. I need you to look at it, inspect it, and make sure it is the way it is. So we never even had to deal with all this nonsense. And so, okay, so what was the countermeasure? He goes, I went to Matt Coe's the one who does all the receiving. And I explained to him that all things that come in for engineering must always get my approval before the driver leaves to make sure that everything's been inspected. I said, perfect, there's a great countermeasure. So this is the way we think about everything we do. We're always looking for ways to improve everything. The process of receiving something is a process. And if it isn't effective, then we have to Hansei and then put in a countermeasure. I cannot emphasize this word countermeasure. If there's one thing you're going to learn in Japan, because I know you're going to Japan with me, it's you're going to hear this word over and over and over. They're fanatics about what is the countermeasure.
Excellent.
保罗你好，我有个问题想请教你。如果2秒经济改善任务比较小，如果比较大的经济改善，是属于什么经济范围？
So we have a number of our operators that would love to have eyes and ears inside the 4 walls of FastCat. I'm sure you've got more than 4 walls in your factory, but they'd like to be inside the factory and just understand what sort of structures you have. So in understanding that, structuring that around a question, so we have improvements that are bigger than a 2-second lean incremental improvement. So surely you've had those at FastCat. How is your organization structured to deal with these opportunities for larger improvements and efficiencies over those 2-second lean incremental improvements that are executed quickly and simply?
Well, we do the same thing that we do on the small improvements. We gather the stakeholders together and we say, this is what we want to do. I'll give you a good example. Okay. So we've had forklifts for the last, 15 years. We've been running around with the same forklifts that we've had. And we take really good care of it. If you watch our videos, our forklifts look brand new. And I said, I was watching how they were using them, how they're having to get off, put their seatbelt on, get up, get back in, sit down, put their seatbelt on. I go, that's a lot of time. And they're doing this all day long, right? And so I looked at that and I said, God, there's got to be a better way. So I went to a local store, Costco, and I noticed the way they were running there, that everything was stand-up forklifts. They never put seatbelt on. They were facing forward and backward. So I said, look I'm noticing that you guys are struggling and spend a lot of time on this. And we've got 3 or 4 different brands of forklifts. So you got to be trained on all these different ones. I'm thinking about standardizing and buying all new forklifts for the entire company. Everything stand up. And what do you think? And they say, well, let's try it. So for 2 months, we got some demo units in, and everybody and all the departments ran them. We found out which ones we liked, we didn't like. We really went through the process very carefully. And then finally they decided, yeah, this is the forklift. Everyone agrees, collaboration, cooperation, that this is the one. And it wasn't a slam dunk. It wasn't like everybody agreed perfectly at first, but we did our safety, quality, simplicity, speed, and this particular brand won out. And we replaced all of our forklifts, got rid of them, and brought in all new forklifts. It cost me a fortune. I mean, we're probably talking, by the time it was all said and done, $100,000 bill. So that was not a 2-second improvement. That was a massive improvement, and it saved our time, our productivity, and time went through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the way we.
It feels like there are a lot of secret sources, and again, the secret sauce in that is a level of consultation that involves all of the stakeholders in that decision, and you don't need to have unwieldy corporate structures to implement projects. You have to have unwieldy passion to consult with your people and get them in on the decisions.
Work with the stakeholders. Don't let the bureaucrats make the decision. Go to the shop floor, and that's all I did. I went to the people driving the forklifts and I said, this is what I propose based on me watching you. And they said, well, let's try them. So we tried them for 2 months. Long time. We really ran them through the paces.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's the end of the questions from the front line, Paul. Based on some feedback from our first interview, we've shortened it up in terms of the questions. We had some of our partners and stakeholders in China split the first interview up into multiple videos. So I think we've listened to that feedback, and we're going to see if we're going to be successful in delivering to them a better interview experience and growing the 2-second lean and the instilling the lean culture, attitude, and invasion of lean across China in our businesses there at the moment. So I want to thank you for the interview.
Yeah. And now the book's in Chinese, right?
Absolutely.
You got to work hard on that, and that's awesome.
Indeed. And we're working our way through Banish sloppiness there still. Linger's had his work cut out for him with relocating back into China out of the US and getting his family out of the US into China. So he'll get his head down on that one when he gets back into it. So again, thank you for the interview, Paul. I appreciate that very much. Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year if we don't talk between now and then. And hope you and the family and the FastCap team return to 221, perhaps in a better condition than what we're going to leave 220.
I don't ever want to repeat this year again.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, I'm about 12 hours on from the conclusion of our interview with Paul this morning, and I wanted to conclude with one particular message. We have made a commitment to our frontline staff in China that we will seek all possible resources in answering their questions and clarifications required for our 2-second lean journey, instilling the culture of lean. And so the questions, they may seem pretty simple, they may seem pretty basic. Many of you may have experiences that you can share with us that give answers to those particular questions, but they're indicative of the journey that our staff individually and collectively are on with instilling our lean culture. I have a commitment on a quarterly basis to conduct these interviews with Paul and share those with as many people as possible within our organisation. And I'm throwing an invitation out to all of you that are watching this to send me your questions so we can pose those to Paul, and through his experience and wisdom and through shared experiences, we can make your lives and your customers and your stakeholders' lives all the better for it. What I need from you though is a video question, not a question on an email or on Teams or on WeChat or on WhatsApp. I need you to make the investment in a video question, and we'll put that into the mix and get Paul on our next or the next after that opportunity to answer that particular question that you might have or your team might have. So the challenge is out to the rest of you to give us some feedback on that and be a participant in our ongoing lean journey within ODL. Thank you.